His hair is like horses' tails. His beard is like beavers. I don't know.
Whoa, Jay. That's
Wow.
poetic.
That's poetic.
You're making me a little bothered here.
Dita Buck, how are you doing?
We love having you on. This is why we do this. We always brag. We use you to make us look better. So we haven't had you on in forever. So when Jay reached out behind my back, I loved it and I was happy.
Yes.
New headline: Johnny uses women. I don't know why that.
Is that what you want your Taylor Swift? That's what you want your Taylor Swift bracelet to say.
It'll say in really small writing afterwards to make his podcast better. But
why don't we just have dead nerd for you and then light nerd for me, and then when it combines, it turns into the dead light nerds.
I like that.
Boom.
But Deeds, we invited you on for a spooky special cast, which is why I have all my haunted horror books behind me, and Johnny's
my
wearing
Chucky shirt.
Spooky, scary.
For those that are listening, I have a Chucky shirt on, and Jay's reading us horror stories.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Best story for the Halloween season, by the way, is called The Rats in the Walls. It's free on YouTube. It only lasts about 40 minutes, and it is by my homeboy. Crap, I just blanked on his name. Not Edgar Allan Poe, but the other creepy writer whose name is escaping me. I'll think of it in a second. Sorry.
Is it a little show?
No, it's just like a narration. But it's an old book. He's like the king of horror, or he's the father of horror. He wrote like The Mountains of Madness. Cthulhu. He wrote Cthulhu. Johnny knows him from D&D.
Cthulhu.
Anyway, that's my big recommendation for the Halloween season for books. Read The Rats in the Walls. It's spooky.
I'd rather them just watch the new Goosebumps on Disney Plus because it's pretty scary for a kids movie show.
That is something I wanted to talk about as well because I wanted to see if you guys had watched it or were watching.
Only with the lights on and with Jay on speed dial.
I thought he was going to say something else. How
far into it?
Like 8 seconds. Like Justin Long terrifies me.
Oh. Have you, Jay?
This isn't the one with Jack Black, is it?
No, Justin Long. No. It's the new one that just dropped on Disney Plus.
I didn't even know this existed. I'll have to watch it.
Yeah. It's a series, not a movie. So I don't know how many episodes there are. It's
probably 8, right?
Is Justin Long a teacher in it?
Mm-hmm. That's that
one.
Yeah.
Justin Long is a teacher in New Girl, which means that these worlds could technically be connected.
Oh,
I thought you were just gonna say he's typecasted.
That was such a like long suffering sigh. Like
she's like humoring an 8-year-old. Yeah, good.
Sure.
Cool.
Sure, Jay. Very similar.
Cool videos, bud.
And you wrote this all by yourself? Yeah. Tell your mom I'm here now. Give her the phone.
Oh. Deez, we mostly wanted to have you on. 1, because you're just the best, but 2, because you said you have some scary stories.
Ooh.
I do. Well, yes, I do. I do feel like I have a couple.
Spooky Halloween.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Do you want to just get right into it?
Johnny, Johnny is the maestro, so we're gonna just double check with him.
Deeds, I'm gonna dim the lights to make sure I'm feeling all scary.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dim these bad boys. I don't even know if I can dim it right here. Ooh, scary stories. Mm-hmm. Ooh. All right, Deeds, take it away.
Okay. I don't have a ton of scary stories, but I have one. I mean, it's kind of scary. When I was a kid, this was the first one that came to mind when I was talking to Jay about it.
And only Jay.
Yes. I'm not super into paranormal stuff. I'm going to preface with that. So when I was young elementary age. I don't know how old exactly, but I was going to bed. And so this happened to me. This was a me story, not just a general story. I was going to bed one night and I always slept with my door open and there was some light coming through from down the hall. My lights were off in my bedroom and I was laying on my side facing my closet doors, which were closed. And I had fallen asleep, but the light was still on down the hall. And I remember waking up because I heard something and I opened my eyes and I saw it was like a silhouette, almost just like a shadow. And I was not afraid. My first instinct was not to be afraid, but I was just kind of like, whoa, okay. I thought it was my mom. Like, that's how much I saw a person. And so I kind of like laid there for a minute and like kind of like closed my eyes. And then when I opened my eyes again, there was nothing there. And it was so real to me that I called for my mom because I thought maybe she had been in my bedroom and that's who I had seen. So I called my mom into the room and she came in and I asked her, were you just in here? And she's like, no, I wasn't in here. And I just kind of was like, oh, okay. I didn't really tell her what happened. I'm sure she doesn't remember this, but I remember feeling like it was my grandma who had passed on my dad's side. And the weird thing is I never met her. She passed away in December and I was born in March. So I never met her, but I always tell my dad I probably high-fived her on the way down when she was going up. And I don't know why, but I remember feeling like it was her. And that's it. Like it was very weird and I've never had any experiences like that again, but I wasn't afraid. It didn't make me afraid.
That's like almost wholesome.
Yeah, but it was spooky, paranormal, sort of.
I was scared.
But it was cool. Like, yeah, I don't even think I'm sure my mom doesn't remember, and I'm not even sure if I've ever told my dad that, but it was his mom. That's
what I felt like. And you didn't even tell your parents.
And our thousands and thousands of listeners. Love it.
Yeah. I'll share the podcast with them, and this will be breaking news, Mom and Dad.
Seriously. Listen to what my friends won out of me through peer pressure. Do it and you're cool. Tell us and you're cool. Can I tell you a ghost story, Deeds?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you guys had stories like that.
All right, so this is the best ghost story you're ever going to hear, bar none. So I was talking to one of my friends, and they were really sad. And I asked, "Why are you sad?" And they said, "My grandpa just passed away, and he lived in El Salvador." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm gonna, good vibes your way. I'll say a prayer for you, whatever, all that kind of stuff." Like, I felt so bad for them. And then I ended up going and visiting them 3 months later, and sleeping on their couch just because I had a connecting flight, and it was out of a town near their house. So anyway, I fell asleep on their couch. And I woke up, and their grandfather, who I'd met, who passed away in El Salvador, was standing over the couch looking out the window. And he looks over and he looks down at me and he goes, and I kind of just was like, what the? Okay. So he starts looking back out the window. And I ended up falling back asleep because I was tired enough that like I didn't want to confront it at the moment. I was so tired. I woke up because of the noise. I saw him and I'm like, all right, whatever. And I fell back asleep. And I went to confront her about it, and I'm like, "Hey, I saw your granddad." And she's like, "Yeah, he's staying with us for the weekend." And I'm like, "So what?" I was like, "Because you told me he's dead." And I guess that he didn't actually die. He didn't actually die. It's like, so he didn't die. They found someone else in El Salvador and reported it as his death. But it freaked the crap out of me to wake up and standing over the couch. Anyway. I got pretty mad at him. Like, you can't tell someone that your grandfather, who like I'd met multiple times, that is dead. Tell me he's dead, and then not be like, "Hey, I know you're coming in for the town. I told you he was dead, but he's really not, and he's going to be at my house." Also, like, I don't know why I didn't see him, until that very morning. It was like 6 a.m. He'd made a noise and was looking out the window, and I don't know. The whole thing was freaky though, because he was kind of leering over my bed and looking down at me too. Like, it was pretty funny. But I don't know who doesn't tell. Yeah. So what I thought was a really cool ghost story ended up not being so.
Yeah. I have a story that's also not really a ghost story, and it ended up kind of turning out to be funny. You want to hear it?
Oh, absolutely.
Always.
It was a camping story. I was with, where were we? I think we were in Moab. It was my cousin, myself, and 2 of my cousin's friends. So all girls. And we were camping in Moab. 2 of the girls decided they wanted to sleep out by like the fire under the stars. And then me and my cousin and I slept in the tent. And I remember it being a little bit windy. And I remember waking up because I was so sure. I was so sure. I heard somebody, like that sound when your hand runs along the tent. And I was so sure someone was like touching our tent. And so I laid there for a minute and I was immediately like, okay, what do I have in here that I can protect myself with? All right, I have my car keys, but I have mace, but it's in my car, but I have a key. I could like fight somebody with my car key. I was just thinking, how am I going to protect myself? And so then eventually it kept going. And so I remember my cousin, this was so mean, but I leaned over to my cousin and said, Caitlin, I think there's somebody outside of our tent. And she's like, what? You know, she's in that sleepy state. She was asleep. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's somebody outside of our tent. I can hear them. And she's like, Deed, stop. You're scaring me. And so we kind of like both laid there and were listening and we could hear the sound, but it was the rain fly rubbing on the tent because it was a little bit windy. And so I was so sure there was someone that was going to jump into our tent, but false alarm.
Tents are the worst at that. I went hunting a few months ago and I was staying in a tent and tents just make noise and I can hear footsteps outside the tent. And this time, like, I knew it was. I had no idea what it was. Like, is it a coyote? Is it something else? I tried looking for, and we were next to like a sheeping area. It could have been an elk. It could have been anything. And I woke up, well, I actually didn't sleep at all that night, maybe for an hour or something, because we got up at 3 a.m. and I was talking to my buddy afterwards. He's like, oh, I heard that too. Like, there was something walking around. We didn't know. We never figured out what it was. It could have been, there were guard dogs for the sheep that could have been coming in and checking us out, but could have been wolves. I don't know. But I've heard some weird stuff when I wake up and I'm in a tent, and I don't like, sometimes it's my tent. But sometimes I'm like, there's something out there. Tent sleeping is the worst.
Yeah, you hear everything. It's scary. So do you have any stories from like when you've been hunting and stuff, or camping in that way?
Okay. I'm going to share a family secret on the podcast, which I'm not sure I'm allowed to do, but I'm going to
edit it out later. It's fine. It's fine.
What did you say, Johnny?
We'll just edit it out later.
I thought you said you'll let it out later. I'm like, I don't know what that means. I'm going to let it out right now.
Let it out.
Okay, so all right, real quick, raise of hands. Who here believes in Bigfoot?
That was something I wanted to talk about as well.
We all raised our hands for those
listening. I'm halfway there.
Deeds raised to 0.5, so 2.5 of us believe.
Okay. So here's my grandfather saw Bigfoot. And here's the thing is you might think like, oh, he's just another kook or whatever. But it's like, it's weird when you know someone and you know that they're not the type of person who just makes things up. Kind of makes it like a little bit like, okay. You know what I mean? He was like a straight shooter cowboy. He didn't really ever lie or whatever. Like if he did, it was, probably on his taxes, but it wasn't going to be about something like this. Like he didn't lie about like stories from the wild or make things up.
Okay.
Hard dude, like, grew up like eating snakes and just kind of like a mountain man. Anyway, this is Northern California where most of the sightings occur, or at least a huge number of them occur in Northern California. They're out way in the boonies. There's a little bit of a farm, kind of out way in the boonies. And he's working with his two cousins. They're younger men, probably about my or Johnny's age. They're working, and one of his cousins goes to get something from the barn and comes booking back. He's gone for a minute, and then he comes booking back, and he can't breathe, and he's like falling over himself. And they finally get him calm enough to where he's like, okay, I'll go. They go back to go look for it. And as they, get to the barn, there's nothing in it. But they look out over kind of like the field that they're at. That kind of it just has a little bit of a hill going down. And he says, just at the edge of that field, he can see something that had cleared the entire field in that time. Big and hairy, running on two legs. That was just two legs. The last bit of the glimpse makes it right over the edge. And then he asked his cousin, like, what did you see? And he said, I went into the barn, looked up in the rafter, and it had a deer basically. And it was Bigfoot, more or less like a big, black-eyed, terrifying, whatever. And bears don't run on two legs, and they don't clear the fields that fast because it wasn't that long. So I don't know what you want to call him, my grunkle saw him, and then we'll go with grunkle. Grusin, my grandpa cousin. Anyway, he saw Bigfoot, ran and grabbed him, and then my grandpa, saw Bigfoot. And I asked him about it later, and he's like, I don't know. He was like, it won't no cougar because it didn't have a tail. I don't know. He talked with a little bit of like a backwoods accent too, kind of a farming accent. But Here's the funny story. So my dad grew up doing like young men activities, like where he would take kids on campouts and stuff like that, like neighborhood youth groups. And he took a group out one time and he told this story, and one of the young men did not sleep the entire night. He was up all night because of it. So
no.
my dad won't tell the story anymore because of it, because it freaked people out so bad. It's like, what were you thinking? Like 12. I love that story so much that he freaked someone out. I don't even remember. Yeah, this was 20 years ago. So I would have been freaked out too if I'd heard that. I would have not slept a wink, but
Oh yeah,
it just kind of cracks me up. Let me pull out this family secret that of
especially
the giant
camping.
I know, deer murdering ape in the rafters. Like, and it's so eerie too. Like, you think about like an old barn and how spooky they are, and then looking up in the rafters. Like, imagine hearing a noise. You look up in the rafters to track the noise, and it's looking down at you.
No, that would just be the end. I couldn't continue. I'd be like, nope, I'll never recover. Speaking of, though, did you see the recent Bigfoot footage that kind of went viral within the last couple of weeks? It was in Colorado. So there's a train that goes from Durango to Silverton, just a little old steam engine. And somebody on the train was recording in what appears to be Bigfoot. And he's kind of walking and then squats down when he sees the train and is kind of just like hunched down in the bushes looking at the train. So that was the video that went viral, but I was curious to know if you had seen it, because I want to know if you think it's real or do you think it's fake?
Johnny, I haven't seen it. Have you?
I haven't seen it, but I believe it's real. If you don't believe in fantasy, why live?
That's right.
Here's the interesting thing. So we're so urbanized, right? Like, this is where I become kind of like a little bit of I don't even know what you want to call it, like not an extraterrestrial conspiracy theorist, but like I have some of that too. But like, you think about like the olden times where everyone just kind of accepted that you didn't go out into the woods at night, and like you live on the edge of the forest, and there's strange happenings, and it's suddenly you live in a concrete jungle, and that kind of goes away because that stuff just doesn't really exist, like it did. But I don't know, man. You think about how I get that people were superstitious and all that, but why were they? And what was going on at the edge of the woods? What were they seeing?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've been in the woods in the middle of the night, and that's freaky. And there are times where it's just animals, and there are other times where it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You hear strange noises. I don't know there was something following me, a few months back. When I was picking up a game camera, something like I could hear the twig snapping behind me. I don't know what it was. So I pulled out my 9mm and was just like walking backwards, but it's like, you just don't know. The woods are a little bit, and it was a super like unused trail that I was on. Like, I was in the deep woods of Lambs Canyon, which is up kind of by Park City, but it's before you get there. Anyway, like I've never run into a hunter in that area, like other than me. I don't know. It probably was a bear or something else, but it was weird because like I knew it was following me, whatever it was.
Yeah. You can tell. You can feel something watching you, and you can feel something following you. It's terrifying.
Yeah, spooky. Johnny, do you have any spooky stories to tell in the dark?
Not that too many names would be dropped, so we better not use it.
Okay.
Well, now I want to know.
Okay. So,
geez, well done. So
I know it wasn't even I was going to tell. I'm sure Deandra Ward has heard this before, but we had a friend go on a service mission, and he came home early, and he didn't want to tell anybody about it. So there was me and him. We were talking in the living room of our friend's house. Chris Creates the World's house, and he was younger at the time, Chris. So he was in bed. And his older brother, Andy, who's my friend, was in the basement. And me and the other two were just talking. All of a sudden, we hear a knock on the door. And we panic and run out because he thought someone was just following him from his area. We freak out. I call Andy, who's in the basement. I'm like, dude, code red. They're here. They're going to get us. He panics. We have this whole adventure where we're running outside. The next day, we're still telling the story. And we found out Chris just knocked on the wall because we were being too loud. He wanted to go to bed.
Gosh,
that was it. It was the best 4 hours of our lives. And then we just the next day, it's like, you guys were loud. I knocked on the wall and they shut up. It was really fun.
Had to get his beauty sleep.
Yeah. So that's it. That's why I stay indoors where nothing bad happens.
Never. My brother growing up, I remember so I have 2 older brothers, but my oldest brother, I think he was home like babysitting myself and my middle brother or something, but we were home and his friends were playing pranks on us and they thought that I was sitting in the living room watching TV, and I think they thought that my oldest brother was there. So they were trying to prank him, but mistakenly got me. And I still remember it because they jumped into the window well. I was in the basement and they jumped into the window well with a scary clown mask and started like banging on the window. And I was young. I was probably elementary school age. And I was so terrified. I remember running into either a bedroom or a bathroom and just hiding and like yelling for my brothers because I was so scared. So I'm scarred. I'll never forget it. Still don't like clowns.
Neither do I, except for Buggy.
I love Buggy. That's from One Piece.
Whoa.
Put him away.
That's from One Piece too.
He's lying.
Gum punch.
Well, let's do this real quick. Deeds, how do you recommend someone enjoying the holiday season? What's your top 3 go-to movies?
Ooh, Halloween. Like scary, or
it's
just
whatever. It's like it's fall, it's Halloween. What are the 3 movies you have to watch? At least once.
I love Signs. That is probably one of my very favorite scary movies, which also very much scared me when I was young. Not as much now, but it feels like such a classic. My brother watched it a ton growing up too, so I think we just got familiar with it. I do like Nightmare Before Christmas. I feel like that's a good Halloween one. And geez, I mean, I watch Hocus Pocus every year, but doesn't everybody? Yeah. Doesn't every girl watch Hocus Pocus every year?
Only, not me too. Totally watch
What did you think of the second one, the new one?
It's okay. I'm really excited for the third one though. The OG cast is coming back, all of them.
They're creating another one?
Yeah, the third one's getting released next year.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're getting all 3 of them. I saw it on a Disney Plus ad, and I couldn't find the one, but it's supposed to drop next year, and it's supposed to be like the original 1990s cast.
Interesting.
You sure this wasn't a Snopes article, Johnny?
Could have been, but I manifested it, so it's real.
Okay.
Oh, powerful.
And if it's not, they can comment and call me whatever, and it will be a holiday prank.
I think the second one was good. Obviously, it wasn't as good as the first, but it was a fun without like ruining anything from the original. It was just kind of a fun like 1.2, you know.
Yeah.
1.5. It was like the Lion King 1.5, which I never saw. Heard it sucked, but
yeah, I watched that growing up. I still can sing some of the songs.
Sorry, I'm trying to like very offhandedly quote The Office when Michael's like, "I never saw the movie Ants. Heard it sucked." But he's talking about how he respects the director. I don't know. Johnny, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, he's like Ants versus A Bug Life. I don't know. He has some long analogy about how he respects the director. And then at the end of it, he goes, "I never saw Ants. Heard it sucked." Anyway, that's me with Lion King 1.5.
I did this year I was trying to kind of get more into some different kind of spooky movies, some that I hadn't seen before. And I watched this one on Netflix, and I believe it's new this year, but it's called Ma. Has either of you heard of it or seen it?
No, I'm still traumatized from the Winnie the Pooh one.
It has, the lead is Octavia Spencer. She is the main person. And anyways, I watched it and I had a hard time finishing some of the parts because it got kind of disturbing at the end, and I am not about twists and turns that become disturbing. Too lighthearted for that, but I was curious. But I don't know anybody else who's watched it, and I want to talk to somebody about it. So please do some homework and watch it.
Only with the lights on and Jay on speakerphone.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Do you guys want to hear a funny, scary story? I'll tell you 2 quick, funny, scary stories.
Okay.
meaning like this is from movies since we're still talking about movies, but it's a funny history about my life. So like many people, I had a grandmother who was extremely religious. And one day we decided to rent a movie because my older brother was a curmudgeon. And so he's 4 years older than I am. And so at the age of 12, he started to be like, I really want to watch, these dark and scary movies. So he rents a movie called White Noise. Now, White Noise as a 12-year-old is pretty scary. White Noise as an 8-year-old is absolutely terrifying. Like the scariest thing in the history of the world, like full on panic attacks as you're watching it, have to run out of the room and then run back because you're interested. Anyway, because you're interesting.
Yeah.
No, so we watched White Noise and I'm already freaked out of my mind. And my grandma decides to pull out these obscure, like Old Testament biblical references to like possession and these other things. And you're like, holy crap, like, I am 8. Please do not. And so we have this discussion that was not spiritual. That was just like, I don't know if she was trying to freak us out or what. Like maybe you guys shouldn't be watching movies like this. There was something she was doing. I don't know what. I love my grandma more than words can say, but this is one of the few times where I'm like, what were you doing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so I didn't sleep a lick that night. I slept in the same bed as my cousin because I was so scared. And I just sat there like shivering the whole night because I was so terrified. So I won't watch the movie still. I am extremely scarred by it. I don't know if you guys ever saw it.
White
Yeah,
Noise.
I did.
Yeah, like when I was 5. Why are you
Please,
listening?
Johnny, please. The other funny story. My wife, before we were married, I was house sitting, and so we were dating at the time, and she wanted to go see it, and I'm like, well, I'm house sitting. I don't know that I should watch a scary movie, and she was like, it's fine, just come with me. So we went and saw it, and she was like, wow, that was a lot of fun. And being her, she just goes home and enjoys her night, and she's fine. But me, I'm terrified of a clown. And so I can't sleep anymore. Like I'm sleeping in a home I don't normally sleep in for my brother just to watch it. And he's got a dog. And I like cuddled that dog all night long and didn't sleep and just held on to him and was shaking. And the house was super hot because I'm cuddling this lab. And so I'm sweating. And it gets to the point where it's like 3 a.m. and I'm so tired that I'm now delusional. And I remember like I would close my eyes and then open them. And in the corner, I would see the clown. Like I was that sleep deprived and stuff. Eventually, I did fall asleep at, I think, 5 a.m. But there were a few hours in there where I was like delirious and having dreams and waking up and the dreams wouldn't. Anyway, so those are my 2 funny stories. Is one, my wife abandoning me, and my grandma still scarring me. The scars run deep.
Do you remember the movies, the Paranormal Activity movies?
Is that what we watched? I was trying to remember what we watched when we were in Vegas that time.
Yes.
And I
don't
fell
remember.
asleep.
Yeah, well, you probably were awoken when Bonnie screamed. Do you remember
I was going to
that?
say, there was a lot of screaming that...
yeah. Her and the entire neighborhood had to wake up when Bonnie screamed.
I remember we drove down to Vegas and and I was just tired and I just went to bed.
Yeah, I remember that. But I don't remember which one we watched. I know it wasn't the first one, but I don't really have movies stick with me ever. But the first one after I watched it, I was scared for like probably a week after because stuff happened during the day. So you weren't even safe in the daylight. It was just scary. And yeah, have you seen it, Jay?
No.
Okay.
I heard it was kind of boring and I never really got into it. Like I hear it's just a lot of like things moving in the background.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. So I never.
It's filmed from the perspective of like home video cameras, right? Surveillance cameras or whatever. And there's one part and it's like a demon that attaches to a person, not just the house. But I remember there's one scene where the girl, it's a broad daylight and she's walking down the hallway and the demon is behind her and breathes on her neck and it blows her hair. And I don't know why, but that scene stuck with me. It scared me so bad. So I've never watched it again. Only once.
Spooky.
Yeah.
Have you ever read any scary books? Because sometimes books are a little bit scarier than movies, to be honest. Because I don't know. Mm-hmm. I've read a couple like suspenses, like Dean Koontz, where it's really good suspense. I tried doing one novel called The Fisherman, recommended by our friend, who is a fisherman, Mason. But I never got all the way through it because it kind of got a little grotesque. And anyway, so I gave up on it. But
I remember having a book when I was younger those scary stories to tell in the dark.
Freaky, right?
Yeah. I remember though reading those, and I kind of like read them with my friends when we'd have a sleepover when I was little, and we'd all scare each other. I can't remember a specific story now, but I do remember reading those.
There was one about like a scarecrow killing 2 farmers because they were torturing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he skinned them and threw them on the roof. I
They
don't know.
were
There's like this
dark.
spider that comes out of like the eggs that come out of the lady's face and
Mm-hmm.
the fat thing. Yeah, I know. And the weird thing is like I remember reading that in like 5th grade. Like I remember I was at Pruvian Park, which was my elementary school. And hello? Like, why is this in the library?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Yeah.
No. What do you guys think about, UFOs and that kind of conspiracy stuff? You believe?
It's not a conspiracy if it's real. So
If they've confirmed it, that they've picked up biological material.
How do you explain aluminum foil being invented right after Roswell? You don't. So
there's a new series on Netflix. Shoot, now I've forgotten the name, but it's about like UFO sightings and stories. I swear it's called something UFO, but I've only watched the first couple of episodes, but it kind of goes over these areas where UFOs are commonly sighted. So there was one, it's somewhere in Texas, just outside of Dallas, I think. And there's all this footage of these lights in the sky, but nobody, I'm sure it's government related, but nobody knows exactly what it is. But it's kind of interesting. I like the UFO stuff. I'm intrigued.
So I have the best UFO story. I keep saying I have the best story. Let me share this real quick.
Let's hear it.
This is another one where it's anyway, you'll see. So I used to work at a car wash, and I was giving one of my coworker car wash buddies a ride home. And I knew that this guy would go to raves a lot, and I knew he did really hard drugs. Like he dropped acid and he did all these things. And we're having a car ride together, and he says, "Do you believe in aliens?" And I'm like, I don't really know where this is going, but I do actually. Like, I believe, like I told him this, like, like infinity's a large number. Like, there has to be something else out there that's living, right? Like, I don't really know what that means. And he goes, let me tell you this. The other day I was driving home with my buddy, and as we're driving, a spaceship right next to my window started flying and kept at pace with us. I'm like, dude, I know you. I know you drop acid frequently. I know you are taking psychedelics all the time because you talk about it. And you go to the raves with everyone else at the car wash. And I was like, I don't think you saw a spaceship. But anyway, I do know someone who, had a close encounter with the third kind. In case you guys ever want to, I can line you up with him if you want to hear it.
Spooky. Yeah. Yikes.
Never mind the fact that he was on, LSD and and acid at the time. That is completely irrelevant. So.
Yes. We all see spaceships. You never know. What about, have you heard of Bob Lazar, the Area 51 guy?
No.
Neither of you know what that is? Okay.
No.
He was the one that he worked at Area 51 back in I want to say it was in the 80s. And he worked on, his job was this is what he claims, is that they had some type of alien spacecraft. And his job was to reverse engineer the technology in the spacecraft because of how it was flying. I can't remember all the details now, but it was something with what we had at the time. The technology didn't exist. And so he was trying to kind of recreate what they found. So anyways, he becomes outspoken in the late 80s about Area 51, that there's a lot of stuff there, that aliens are real essentially. And of course the government doesn't like that because it's supposed to be classified information. So he even drew pictures of very specific things that he experienced while he worked at Area 51. For example, like a time clock that he punched in and out of. He drew these pictures of it. So all this time goes by, and more recently, they declassified a lot of information about Area 51. And one of the things that he drew pictures of, the time clock, there were pictures of what he drew a picture of, and they matched. So all these people for years and years called him a liar, that he didn't really work there. He didn't know all these things. Is everything he said true? I don't know. but the government still pretty much watches like everything that he does. There's a good documentary on, I think it's either Hulu or Netflix, and I think it's just Bob Lazar, Area 51. If you Google it, I'm sure you can find it. But everything about his life now is still, they're listening to everything he's saying, because when he's starting to film this documentary, all of a sudden the government starts showing up at his job. They've raided his work. They've gone to his home. They've talked to his wife, all because he's starting to talk again in recent years about the Area 51 stuff and filming the documentary. It's crazy. So it's a lot of conspiracy stuff. Is everything he said true? I don't know, but it's interesting stuff. The fact that the government is trying so hard to keep him quiet is interesting.
I keep him quiet all the time too. I don't trust him.
Bob. Never trust a Bob.
It's just like the Roswell one, the sheriff that was there on the site, like his wife told all the secrets on her deathbed. So it's really cool, man.
What's that one? I don't know what that is.
It's the I forget his name, but the sheriff who went for the crash, and then the next day they said it was an air balloon. The wife gave like his journal when she passed away, and they released all the stuff he wasn't allowed to talk about.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was where the aluminum foil came in.
I see. Not from Signs, the tinfoil caps.
Oh, it could be. They're universal. Why not?
I'm guessing that Signs took it from Roswell, not the reverse.
No. Signs was the first.
One of my favorite scenes from Scary Movie 3, or maybe it's 4, but they're wearing tinfoil hats, and one of the characters like takes off some of the tinfoil, and there's a Hershey's Kiss under it, and he breaks off a piece and eats it. Anyway, giant Hershey's Kiss on your head. That's what I need. I need my tinfoil hat that also conveniently has a Hershey Kiss under it.
Yes. Don't we all?
Doodlebug, any final spookiness? I think I saw a UFO. There was I went deep sea fishing out in Florida, and there was a light that was just hovering. No helicopter noise. It wasn't that far away. Big bright light. It was just kind of looking out over the water, and it wasn't like a plane that was moving around or whatever. And I'm like, that's a UFO, and it was there for like 30 minutes. Could have been a military, helicopter doing something, I guess, but it didn't sound like it. Didn't look like it. And then the light turned off. No other lights, and it took off. And I'm like, okay, that was a UFO. I'm convinced.
Oh, scary. Oh, I do have a scary story by association, I guess.
Let's hear
it was my brother. It wasn't me, but have you heard of the Devereaux Mansion downtown in Salt Lake? Okay.
Is that the one? And I'm thinking of the one in Holiday where there's like a pool and the daughter drowned in the pool.
No, it's right next to the Delta Center on the north side on the other side of the street. But it's now become, at one time it became like a wedding venue or some type of venue. I don't even know what it is now, but supposedly it's haunted. And I don't know if it was there's supposed to be like a child or somebody up in the upstairs, the top floor. So my oldest brother, he and his friends went to spend the night there because somebody they knew owned it. So they kind of wanted to like freak, they were all teenagers. They wanted to like be scared. We're going to go sleep in this mansion that's haunted, So they went and slept in it after hours. And I don't know if their mind was playing tricks on them or what, but I asked him, did you feel like you heard anything? Did you feel weird? I think they were all kind of spooked. So they did feel a little scared, but he did say he felt like he heard some footsteps in the night, but, and then he had they took a little video camera with them. And when he was filming the outside of the house, every time he would aim the camera, I remember seeing this, every time he aimed the camera to the upstairs, it kind of like went blurry. It would kind of go in and out. And you see him even go down and film the lower part. And then he goes back up to it because you can see he's realizing like, why isn't this focusing? It just kind of went in and out blurry. But I remember being kind of freaked out about that. Whatever it was. Could have been the camera. Could have just been an old camera. But he said it was scared. He's like, never again. I will never do something like that again. Too real.
It's too real, Roy.
Too real.
This is
I wouldn't do
eerie.
that either. I'd be like, no, thank you.
Mm-mm. No way. No way.
Well, sometimes off the cast, you guys, maybe we'll have another discussion on this. I might have some more family stories that are completely off limits,
Ooh.
but I might be able to tell you.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Maybe after a year of pressure, I'll share next year, but probably not.
When we all watch Hocus Pocus 3 together.
Exactly.
That's right. What can you give us a hint as to what?
No, I won't talk about it.
Aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot.
No, it involves Jay in 3 pairs of different pants in one night.
Oh, wow.
Ghosts. I'll say ghosts, but yeah, no, that's all I'll say.
What a tease.
I know. Quit being such a tease.
Well, Deeds, what are you going to be for Halloween? Are you allowed to announce it? Or are you still? Are you guys doing a couple's costume again? Or are you?
No, I am still not going to reveal because I don't know. I do not know what I'm going to be yet.
Keeping the fans waiting.
No, I've been busy, so I haven't really thought about it. But I've got about 10 days to figure that out. So, what are you guys being?
Left out, loser, whatever, all the above.
Jay, I have a feeling you know.
What Johnny is being?
No, what you're going to be.
Oh, no, I do know, yeah. But
What
it's
is
going to be
it?
a surprise.
Couples costume?
Not really.
Okay.
What?
Meaning,
You
like,
said we were going to dress up together.
if you want.
Yeah.
Does your wife like to dress up?
Not normally, but this year we are.
Okay. Oh, it's couples, Johnny. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
It's couples in that it's from the same genre, but it's not couples in that, like, it's not like Fred and Daphne or anything like that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I know what it is. I'll tell you off camera, Deeds.
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
Do you? You might actually. I may have told you. I whisper all these secrets
to Johnny.
a
month ago.
Okay. I whisper all these secrets to Johnny. What is the secret ingredient in your mother's secret sesame sauce? And I'm like, Johnny, I'll tell you and you alone.
As I'm texting everybody.
I know.
Sesame sauce.
Shut up, Deeds. Yeah, no. Johnny, I feel like you got to close us out. What else we got? Any final things? Any final thoughts?
No, just, nights, enjoy it. Watch Are You Afraid of the Dark? All the 90s scary shows are on somewhere you can stream. Watch Ash Evil Dead. I like B-movie horrors. Just enjoy it because it's going to be gorgeous outside. Mm-hmm. Be with friends. Enjoy that we're allowed to be with humans again and take advantage of it.
That's right.
And we can't thank Deeds enough. One of our best casts we did a long, long time ago at your basement with an alien. Was there an alien I feel like you had some type of neon light that was an alien. Or no, we added an alien to our picture.
Why did we do that?
Yeah, why did we do that?
I think it was Area 51 was like a big thing because everyone was going to rate it.
Oh, yeah.
And we were pretending to have an interview with an alien. We were very clever a couple of years ago. And it was on in your basement, Deeds, that we recorded it. So
yeah, I do have
since the start. And I think you were our first real proper guest, right? That we had on that wasn't
you made everyone so jealous and angry.
Yeah.
Was I the first one?
It could have been someone else, but you were the first one that everyone was like, get her back on.
Oh, really? Good. All right. Well, hopefully that continues.
So can't thank you enough for carving out an hour of your night or 2 hours, whatever you needed to come talk to your old nerd friends.
Oh, thanks guys for having me. Appreciate it. Happy to come on anytime.
Nice. What's your spooky, scary story? Let us know in the comments below, and we will catch you on the Flippity Flop.
Flippity flip.